A lot of people feel intimidated when it comes to making their book available free of cost or hindrance, and they have lots of practical questions about where to start. So this video series is for you. The common misconception is that you need a legacy publisher to typeset, format, and publish your book in order for it to be successful, beautiful, and professional. And that is simply not true. And God in His providence has given us incredible tools that allow us to circumvent the unbiblical system of most legacy Christian publishers. And that's what we're going to talk about hands-on today. This is a comprehensive guide meant to demystify the steps involved in self-publishing a book in a way that truly accords with Christ's command to freely give. And if the idea that ministry should be supported, not sold, is new to you, we've got lots of videos on this channel that help unpack that. Now, I'm going to be showing you how to typeset a book in Microsoft Word. Why that? Many people already have it, and they're used to it. I'm old. I've been using this program for so long. If you leverage this program right, your book will be essentially indistinguishable from a professional typesetting program like InDesign. If you're on a Mac and prefer Pages, well, you can do basically everything that Word can do. Just ask an AI how to do something I show you here, but in Pages. You'll be able to download this Word doc I'm showing you in the link in the description. I'm not a programmer or a power user, but I hope to help others with what I've learned. The first thing we want to do is reveal the formatting. So we're going to go ahead and show this. So you can see some of the formatting here at the beginning. We have a page break. You're going to want to make sure you learn how to use page breaks. Then here we have another page break. Let's zoom in on this page. Here you can see the dedication to the public domain. This is how I do it. It's not the only way to do it, but you can feel free to use this as you like. Then I have this badge, and you can get your own badge like this if you go to copy.church/licenses. This is a whole guide on how to self-publish a book if you need something in written form with a lot more detail and all of that. So if you go over here to how to free, then you're going to see this licenses page that I told you about with the badges, and then you can right-click, save image as, and drag that into your doc. All right. We'll turn this back on. We'll keep going down here. This is my dedication page. And then I have a table of contents. Let's talk about that. Some people don't know that you don't have to do the table of contents manually. Table of contents can be generated automatically and save you hours and hours. All you have to do is go to Insert. Now, if you can't find it, remember that these new versions of Word are really helpful because you can just search table of contents and then you can insert it there. And there are all these different formatting options that you can choose from. This is the one I've chosen. Now, your table of contents will not work unless you have tagged everything correctly with styles. Okay, so here's our styles thing on the home page. Everything that you see here is reflecting the styles that have been tagged down below. So the headings, for example. So it's going to look for the headings that you have labeled or tagged, and it's going to automatically put them there with the page number. Now, as you work on this, you're going to need to update it. Maybe you add more headings. Maybe you add some more text so the page numbers change. So all you do is you right-click it and you update field, and then it's going to ask you, do you want to update the entire table? That is, do you want to put in, add the new sections that were added, the new headings, or do you just want to update the page numbers? And you can choose which one and hit OK. And what's nice about this too is it's linked, so I can hold down Control and click one of these to jump straight to that section. All right. Here we have an important section break. This section break, you've noticed that before this section break, there are no page numbers. And that's how it typically is with the beginning of a book. So this is how you're able to control two different sections. This section with no page numbers, and then the section that follows is going to have page numbers starting with page 1. To get these page numbers, of course, you're going to go to Insert, and then you can find page number right here. Remember that any of these kinds of things that you're wondering about, like maybe you're not sure about how something works in Word, now with AI tools, you can ask and you're going to get amazing answers. So here's a style. So let's go back to the home. Let's talk about this first style. If we expand the styles ribbon here, then we can see all the custom styles that I've created. So I have some paragraph styles and some character styles. This is a heading, and it's a heading 1. So you can see when I click in here, it's going to highlight the one that it is. I can bring up my styles pane at any time using Control-Alt-Shift-S. Now I can see the formatting either just by looking up here of this style, and I can dig deeper into that by clicking here and modify. One thing I can also do is all 18 instances of this style, I can select them all. I can do other things here, but for now we're just going to hit modify and look at the properties. Here's the name. You can name it anything. I have everything that's custom for this book as DN for divine name. And then down here we can see more kinds of properties and adjust them. So I could go to paragraph and I could see, okay, here don't add space between paragraphs of the same style, things like that. Spacing before, after, all of this kind of thing. I want it centered, etc. So this has widow and orphan control turned on, and I don't want these titles to hyphenate. So although I want hyphenation down in the body of the text, when I have a title up here of a section, I don't want it to hyphenate. I just want it to run over to the next line. Widow and orphan control means that I don't want this to end up at the bottom of a page without anything underneath it. So that's a really bad look, right? You don't want a new section starting with the with the thing right here, and then the text goes on to the next page. So that's what widow and orphan control helps eliminate. The body style, the body text, DN body text, and I've used the Cardo font, so you notice that's also for this one. Cardo is a free font from Google that's very good for academics. It's a very sharp, nice serif font. If you don't know the difference between serif and sans serif fonts, you'll need to learn that. That's an important thing to know as you typeset. You can see here more about this. So let's go to modify, and if we go into our paragraph styles, alignment is justified, and then I've set it so that the first line is indented by this much. I've also set it so the line spacing is at least 15 points. So it's a very fine control that you have on the spacing. There's lots of other spacing options here. Now, the advantage of this, of course, is because I've set the style for all of these things, these different elements of the book, I can change that. I can modify that. Anytime here, I can hit modify, and then it will update all of the different things that are tagged as this style automatically. So I don't have to go through manually and update each little thing and look for it. It will just be like a remote control to hit a switch on everything that's relevant to that. Now let's talk about a character style. We have the divine name in Hebrew here, and because I need to use a separate font and I want to be able to have granular control over every Hebrew word in this document, I've chosen a character style. And so this is the DN Hebrew, and this is, you can see that it's the Ezra SIL, and it's font size 11. So I can easily modify every single Hebrew word. If I wanted to change this, for instance, to another font, I could do that without affecting any other text in the document except the Hebrew text. And that's very handy because this has saved me many, many hours of work. Since I've had to change this font, I recommend Ezra SIL font because The other free fonts that I tried caused a lot of problems. They were not letting me make the font bigger without adding space between lines that I didn't want. They were forcing space between lines and making the line spaces uneven whenever there was a Hebrew font there. So this one behaves really well in that sense. Ezra SIL is free to download if you just Google it. Down here, we're going to get to one of our first block quotes. So I have a long quote here, and it's a little bit different. You can see it's Cardo size 10. Within block quotes, I have a separate Hebrew character style because those also have to be smaller. So I have DN Hebrew long quote. So that has different properties. Then I have another heading, and this is the next in the hierarchy of headings, heading 2. Let's talk about footnotes. Footnotes all have their own style. And so I have, for this style, DN footnote, okay, Cardo 9. Now, one of the handy things that I haven't mentioned yet about styles here is that I can go to modify, and I can go to format, and I can go to shortcut key, and then I can apply a shortcut key. Right now, for footnotes, I have this shortcut key applied. So let's say I work on this book, and I've got a bunch of work done on it already, and I decide, okay, I want the footnotes to be a certain way. I've decided, and I haven't tagged any of them yet. Well, you could very quickly go through your whole book and apply the style using that shortcut key without having to be clicking and clicking and clicking back and forth here. So you could just go down to the next one, and then you click here, Control-Shift-Alt-F, and boom, it will automatically format this whole thing. I have a different character style for Hebrew footnotes. So here we go, DN Hebrew footnote. So I can change all of those as well separately. Now let's talk about margins. You can see here that the margin on the left is different from the margin on the right. And then if I scroll down to the next page, these margins are mirrored. One is smaller and one is bigger. Now let's go and see why that is. So if we go to layout and we go to margins, I have custom margins here, and you can see that they are mirrored. That's an important quality that you want to activate. So that means that they're mirrored like a book. Books usually have what we call right here a gutter. The gutter is a larger margin so that when you open the book, you're not trying to flatten the book so much just to see the text that goes into the inside. You don't want it to go too close to the spine of the book because that will make it a difficult reading experience. So you can look at all of the margin settings that I have and copy those if you want. Also, let's just look at the page size here. I have 6 by 9 that I have selected. The reason for that is in my experience with Amazon KDP and other print-on-demand services, 6 by 9 is what they call a standard print size or trim size. And it tends to give you higher quality if you stick with the standard. The other advantage is that when you have 6 by 9, that gives you more real estate on the page as opposed to a smaller size, which means that there are less pages to your book, which means the cost of the book is going to go down. And so it's a more efficient way to make a cheap book or a very affordable book. Let's talk about hyphenation. You can see here there's a hyphen. You want to have hyphenation on so that the typesetting, the spacing between words, will be nice and even as possible in your book. Otherwise, it will definitely look amateur. So I don't remember where this is in the menu, so I just go up here and I start typing hyphenation. And I can see right here it's turned on. I'm going to click here to see more properties. And so yes, automatically hyphenate document. And then I've set it to limit consecutive hyphens to 5. Now at any time when you are working through your document, you can go to Control F, just hit Control F, and you'll see three things here. Results, you can do a search, but you can quickly go to headings and see all the navigation of your headings and quickly jump to these different places in your book. So I could jump to my bibliography, about the author, other books by Andrew Case, etc. All right, so you have finished your book. You're ready to upload it and publish the paperback. What do you do next? Well, you're going to save as a PDF. So the shortcut key in Word is F12 for save as. So I'll just hit that. And right down here, I'm going to select PDF. Now, it's very important that you don't make the mistake of going to File and Save as Adobe PDF, because that's different, and that is going to ask you to pay money for something, and you don't want to do that. So you save it as a PDF. Let's go back there. You're going to want Standard Publishing, Online, and Printing. You can leave the other settings the same. Save it. In this case, I am going to replace what I have there. And then it's saved. Now, if you want to review it in the PDF viewer, you can do that. I'm going to go to my KDP account, so kdp.amazon.com. If you don't have an account set up, you can do that. And here I have my book. So I've already set this up. So what I'm going to do is, instead of creating a new book, I'm going to show you some of the settings that I have for this, and I'm going to upload that PDF. So right now the paperback is live, but I'm going to go ahead and upload the updated PDF, because you can do that anytime you want to update your book. You find a problem, you find a mistake, you can correct it, update it, and the next person who buys it will have the corrected edition. So here we're going to go to Edit Paperback Content. You can see that I have selected cream paper. I think that's a really good option. 6x9 dimensions, no bleed, matte finish on the cover. I think that's the most premium and professional look. Upload manuscript. So I've uploaded this previously. I'm going to upload and replace it. And then after you've uploaded it, you're going to have to wait a moment for it to register. There we go. It's going to process your file, and then you're going to have to do a couple things further down. So as you can see here, it's going to ask you to launch this previewer since you've made updates to your manuscript to be able to approve your book and continue. So let's go ahead and launch previewer. So here we go. This cover I designed in Photoshop. You could do that with whatever you want. They have templates that you can download depending on the amount of pages in your book and the size, and it'll give you a template to be able to do that. I recommend Canva. That's free, and there's amazing functionality in Canva that you could use to design your book cover. So I'm going to go through here, make sure everything looks good. Looking pretty good. Okay, I don't need to go through every page. I'm going to go ahead and hit approve. Now I can hit save and continue. Now it's going to ask me about rights and pricing. So I've selected all territories. Primary marketplace, Amazon.com. It may be different for you. Then this is an important step. You're not going to select expanded distribution, because that will make things a little bit more complicated and raise the price of your book. So I forego this, and I look at the minimum price, and I put in the minimum price that it lets me. That way I'm not making any profit off of this, and people are buying it at cost. So if you hit the minimum price here at the top, it should populate it at the minimum price for all the rest of the marketplaces, but you'll just have to double check them to make sure that is the case. Sometimes it'll be a little bit different. So all set. You can request a proof or publish your paperback book. All set. Now the paperback has been submitted. This book will be checked, and usually you'll get a response in 24 hours that it's good to go. Now, to give you an example of the settings on the other page that I didn't show you, let me show you in this book what that is like. Edit paperback details. So I'm going to tweak the details on this paperback real quickly. I'm going to go in here and show you, and then show you how you can go in and tweak the details on your book at any time. So things like the description and stuff. There are some things, of course, that you can't change once you have published it. And so, for instance, here you're seeing these little notifications that you can't change the book title and things like that. But if we go down here, we'll see that here is our description, and here are the publishing rights. Now, yes, we advocate public domain publication of books. Why don't I have this as a public domain work? Well, this is because Amazon doesn't have a category for someone actually actively publishing a new book as public domain. What they mean by this is that this is a book that's so old that it's passed into the public domain, like Shakespeare, for example. And that what you're doing is you're just making a new reprint or something like that of this book, and you did not create it. So the reason we don't click this is because that's not actually true. We're not publishing an old work. We do own the copyright and hold the necessary publishing rights. And this is important because Amazon's going to limit you. If it is a public domain work, you're going to run into some limitations, but you don't want those limitations because technically you do own the copyright, even though you are dedicating it to the public domain officially. And what matters is what's inside the book that's telling people that it is free to copy and free to share. So that's a little detail that could be confusing for some people. So we're going to scroll down here, and I'm just going to add a little tweak here. So I've made my edit, and I'll just scroll down and save it. After I save it, I'll need to go to this tab, the final tab, and I'll need to go to the bottom and publish your paperback book, and then I'll be done. Amazon will review that change, and then it will go live. Now let's talk about getting a physical copy that you can review and see that everything looks good in your hands. What I do, and you may not want to do this, is I just publish the book without any fanfare. Nobody will find it, really. I haven't announced it or shared it yet with anybody. So I just go ahead and publish it and make it live. Then I order a copy. There are two ways to order a copy. The first way is you can order author copies. So if I go here and I click on this book, order author copies, it will give me significantly discounted copies of the book. The problem is that I don't get free shipping with those copies. And they often end up being, with shipping, more expensive than just buying the book on Amazon normally at the normal price because I've set it so low with Prime shipping. So I get 2-day free shipping. The other disadvantage of ordering author copies is it takes forever to get there. It takes sometimes a week, 2 weeks if you order a lot, sometimes a month or more. So plan ahead if you're going to buy a box of books for an event or something like that. You're going to need at least a month for that to get there if you order author copies. If you order a box of books, this is the best way to go. If you're just ordering one book, the best way is just to go to Amazon.com, find the book, and order it the normal way with Prime, if you have Prime shipping. Now, why do I publish it instead of just leaving it unpublished and ordering a proof copy? That's because the proof copies that Amazon sends you have a big watermark across the cover that really makes it look bad. And I don't like that. So I would rather just publish it live and see the book how the final product is going to be without that watermark. Because if the book is good, I want to be able to keep it and use it or give it away and not just have wasted my money on that proof copy. Anyway, I hope that has been helpful. And like I said, you'll find a link in the description to the actual Word document you see here so that you can go and use it as a template or dig into more settings that maybe I didn't show and you wanted to see. And in the next video, what we're going to do is talk about how to convert this into an ebook and then how to make that ebook free on Kindle and other platforms.